It's always a good time when me and Omar Kelly get together. What is up, Finn fans? Got Omar on the channel, and this is the first time he's been on here, and it most definitely won't be the last time. Normally, when me and Omar get together, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, half hour, I just kind of want to pick his brain, this, and that. But we end up talking, and we end up having such a good time, and he ends up giving me like great information, and we talk about things, we joke about things, all this stuff happens, and boom, it's an hour long. And I'm like, I'm not cutting any of this stuff out because he gives some great information, some great thought processes that I actually want to expand upon with more videos, especially what happens if this experiment doesn't work. So much good stuff. He gives me little tidbits of information about past regimes in, what happens in the locker room that he can. But it's it's a good one. So if you have time, grab some popcorn, grab what you want to grab, sit back, hang out, listen. If you're driving, listen. Great conversation. But real quick before we jump into it, I do have to shout out new members and new sponsors on the membership side: Cosmo, Patron, Dolphantina, Torrance Barnum, Philip Miles, Jason Pothier, Julian Debro, Kristen Reinhardt, Scott Eckhart, Gav Scout 86, and Van Dawson. Thank you guys so much for hitting that membership button. And on the Patreon side, I have Dell, Celestine, Robert Grady, Shane Perry, James Ridge, Julian the Man, Dolphin Man, Carson Lovelace, Sticks and Stones Watson. That's like an old baseball player's name, like up. And coming up to that, we have Sticks and Stones Watson and Rob. Again, to everyone who joins the membership or joins the Patreon, you have no idea how much that means to me by, helping out more than just whatever I expect, which is just watch videos, comment, and if you like what you see, subscribe. That's all I ever ask for. Patrons, if you haven't yet, go check out the videos I put up. I'm going to have more videos because I have some insider information. Obviously, I just talked to Omar Kelly, who's giving us some insider information, but I have some more. So if you're a Patreon, go over there. And then to the memberships, I'm going to start doing special videos for you guys as well. I got a lot planned for you guys. Up and away. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm rambling at this point. But I hope you guys enjoy this great conversation I had with Omar. Go follow him on Twitter if you're not already. You can check out the video we did. I'll link it below. I'm also going to link an article below that he did that was very good. Go check him out, support him. Good friend of mine, which is crazy because I started looking up to him on Twitter, and now I consider him a friend. I don't know if he considers me a friend. Maybe he does. I don't know. But like usual, stay classy and fins up. Season is over. Brought Omar Kelly on. I'm going to
pour myself a drink here. No.
pick that beautiful brain of his. To say this season was a disappointment, is that a stretch?
When you go into the season, I guess, with the expectations that this is going to be the year you end the 24-year drought, this is year 2 of a pivoting on a rebuild, and we expect to get further than where we last were. And allegedly, supposedly, the roster is supposed to be better. And this is something I fought with fans and fought with myself about all off season, in terms of when you looked at the roster and you're like, oh, better, worse. And I even remember doing a breakdown position by position. And I said to myself, you know what? They are or should be better than where they were last year. But I think one thing that I didn't factor in was that aged players would age another year. And it wouldn't go. It's not like they're 25 and going to 26 and they're right at the pinnacle. No, they're on the decline. And unfortunately, I think that kind of was one of the issues that they had this season, where just bodies just couldn't do what they did last year when Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
Even hell, Jordan Poyer. I mean, that body was screaming, time to retire. Um, Javon Holland was playing basically a season trying not to get hurt, and I understand.
Mhm.
I'm not like a naive fan where I'm thinking about, look, why can't you play harder? Why can't you? I'm like, you chose not to pay me. I already hurt my knee, broke
Mhm.
my hand.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to make it through this season so that I can get to free agency and get my bag and then give myself to somebody who really wants to be with me.
Yeah, because I
So
was looking at the season. I was going to ask you, do you think he was making business decisions out there? Because there's a few times that the old Javon would have shot in and made the tackle, and there was times where he went for the block instead of the tackle, and I was like, that looked like a business decision.
I don't want to say consciously he did it, but I think
Okay.
subconsciously he did it.
Yeah.
And there was a point, and I wrote a column about it at some point in the season, and I was just like, he was just way too happy
Hmm.
for at practice and maybe he had just gotten some and had a good day or a good night. I don't know what it was, but it like motivated me to write like, yeah, this guy, you know what this guy's happy about? He's happy he's not on IR. He's happy he
Mm.
didn't screw up the bag, trying to play through the season because his knee injury could have been season ending. It
Mhm.
could have he could have not been a $11 million a year player and been a 1 year for $4 million player.
Mhm.
And I just thought that he was just happy to be there and happy to be healthy. And I got to a point where I was like, he's just trying to make it through the season, like healthy.
Mhm.
And I don't
No,
fault him. I've
not at all.
seen, I don't even know how many years this has been, but I've been through this and I know what it's like when a team decides they don't want to pay you.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to take it to the market, and the market is going to determine how much I get paid. I just got to get to the market. It's part of the business.
Prime examples, Connor Williams. We decided we're gonna let him play the season out, blew his knee out, and
Good comparison. And then Connor was retired
mhm.
and then decided to play
And
and then
then
decided in the season to retire. And I'm one of those guys where I know I've been doing this long enough where I know if your heart is not in it,
mhm.
this is not the sport to be playing.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't go through the motion. And I actually respect him for retiring during the season because, like a lot of you guys don't get to know the people.
Mhm.
You get to know the player.
Yeah.
And when you get to know, and I don't know Connor Williams, but
Yeah.
when you get to know the people, you realize they got crap going on.
Mhm.
Shaq Barrett, his daughter died.
Yeah.
He's trying to hold his family together. Other players battling through relationships. I remember Heartline went through divorce for 1 year.
Mhm.
Trying to find, somebody, Tyreek having a baby this year, well,
Mhm.
one of 4 babies, but yeah, but there's a lot that goes on with, I remember Kendall Lamb's granddad was dying last
Yeah.
year, and he was basically like, I don't want to play no more. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And this is when he was a starter.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like sitting there talking to him like, bro, you can't just you
It's
can't just
good.
quit.
Yeah.
I mean, but people don't realize that a lot of this stuff goes on.
Mhm.
Like Kendall felt like his grandma was gonna, they were two aged, advanced people, and he was like, when one goes, the other one was gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think he cared about football at that point?
No. No.
No. So people don't understand that there's humans behind the helmets, and
Yeah.
I do, which
Yeah.
is
And
why
that
I get the accusation of, oh, I'm a player advocate, and I'm like, no, I could just see where they're coming from. Like with Tyreek, one, he told us, I don't want to do this interview. You don't want me to do this interview. Like, let me
leave it
go.
alone.
We let him go.
Yeah.
They brought him back, and if you watched the whole interview, which most
Mhm.
people did not watch the whole interview, you saw team captain, team leader, say all the right things,
Mm-hmm.
and then something snapped.
Uh-huh.
And when it snapped, you got Tyreek at his rawest.
And it's funny too, because my wife even noticed that at the end, I think it was Chris Perkins asked him, he was like, "So you saying that you want out?" And he didn't say yes or no. He kind of like was like,
But when
like
he
you
walked
could,
off, he said yes.
yeah, like you
Yes.
could see he was like, I shouldn't have said anything. And then he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." And he just like left. Like my wife noticed that like he made a mistake and they forced him, like you said, into a situation where Tyreek's gonna be Tyreek and he's gonna say what he wants to say.
That's not fair because people don't understand Tyreek. And here I could give you so many different instances.
Mhm.
Here's the challenge: when you're on the road, it's a different, smaller media contingent. So it's maybe like 5 of us in there.
Mhm.
And we all generally work together because we all collectively kind of work together because it's a small unit and you can't get everything. But Tyreek has been a stand-up guy all season. When the
Mhm.
game he dropped 3 balls, he's the first person in the press
Mhm.
conference and saying, I need to do better. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to practice on Wednesday, whatever, whatnot. I remember when the rookie, Malik Washington, dropped the
The punt.
punt
Yeah.
that put them in the hole to begin the game. Tyreek is there. He's like, y'all come to me
Mhm.
first.
Mhm.
Let's it's a loss. Let me take it. And then at the end of it, when we're headed to Malik, he says to the rookie, hey, rookie, I'm a 5 punts during my career. Do you think anybody is thinking about any of that?
Mm.
What you do next is what's going to matter.
Mhm.
And look at where Malik is now,
Yeah.
and that was a leader.
Yeah.
Tyreek is going to lead in Tyreek way, where he's going to troll people like Julian Hill. You saw him on social media trolling Julian Hill, like get your act together, like
Yeah,
you know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
What was he in the ice tub or something? He said something to me.
Yeah.
You think they mended that bridge? Because I know that they talked to him. Do you think he still wants some? Like, do you think he's still mentally checked out, or do you think they brought him back in?
I think they have to say the right things right now
Mm,
because you can't have it perceived as we're having a fire sale for Tyreek.
gotcha.
Now, Drew tried to put the toothpaste back in the tube and explaining, and this is the thing is here's how if they go after his money,
Mm,
I can promise you're going to lose the locker room. You're done.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
2025 is done. So you can do whatever you want as a team, and you could pretend like it's in your best interest, whatever. But I promise you go after Tyreek after his teammates know he plays all year with a hairline fracture in his wrist, and you can forget about it in 2025. They're going to Joe Philbin you.
Oh,
So you can either move him, and I don't even think it's financially beneficial to move him.
no.
1 year, okay, let's say you get the equivalent of a second round pick,
Mm,
a 3 and a 5. Let's just say,
mm,
one, is that fair value for Tyreek?
no.
Okay, then anybody else on your team worth what you can get for Tyreek?
No.
Okay, on top of that, you're going to trade him and then take a $13 million cap hit. Does that make sense to you? Lose
Mm,
your best player and then lose $13 million in cap space. Does that make sense to you in any
mm-mm.
kind of way?
No, not
Uh,
at all.
so I also look at it from this standpoint. Tyreek has leverage. Tyreek makes more than everybody but Tua.
Mhm.
Tyreek makes what? 6 times what Mike McDaniel makes, 5 times what Chris Greer makes. Like, Tyreek has power. Tyreek has influence. And what he is saying is, I'm not coming back to this bull crap.
Mm,
Like, y'all better put a good team together, or like and focus on getting us back to the number 1 offense, which means feed me
mhm,
or get me out of here.
mhm.
And players with power and influence, they do this routinely.
Yeah.
They don't, just because it's public with what you see with Tyreek. There's a reason why Jalen Ramsey was sick before he got his contract extension.
Mm,
So players do this stuff routinely. It's just a matter of who has the leverage.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So
talking about that locker room, because, McDaniels, came out and he was talking about, the tardiness and I need to be more strict. And even some of the players like Sealer came out and he was like, we need to hold our own guys accountable. Do you think now somebody asked me if I thought McDaniel lost the locker room, and I don't think he lost the locker room. I think maybe he lost a few players, but I don't think he lost the locker room. You being a guy that's in the locker room, do you think he lost the locker room?
I don't know that. I
Mm,
can't answer that question not at this present moment.
okay.
I just haven't talked to enough guys. The season's a little too fresh.
Gotcha.
Um, it's just hard to sense and gauge that. I wasn't in the locker room. I had all kinds of flight connection issues coming back, so I wasn't in the locker room for the final presser. So I can't really see the tone. I haven't had private conversations. So I can't answer that question.
Okay.
Now, at every point of every year and of every rebuild, you start to see people start to check out on it.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you see organizations and regimes change, change players because of whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
When they tried to trade Brent Grimes and forced and then tried to sell like Byron Maxwell and is going to be an upgrade over,
Yeah.
that wasn't necessarily all contract or performance related. That was just, he checked out on him. She checked out on him. And so these things happen all the time. The question is, which key guys are checked out, if any checked out?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I can't answer that question. I can tell you who are the power players in the locker room. And if the power players checked out, then you got a problem.
Yeah.
Now, if one or two of the power players checked out, okay, you replace them or you minimize the role and you add somebody and whatnot. But I can't sit here and tell you that like Zach Sealer checked out.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you whether or not Jalen Ramsey checked out. If Jalen Ramsey checked out, then you got a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you where Jordan Brooks is. I can't tell you where, Teron Armstead is. I can't tell you where, Raheem's not really a power player anymore, but I can tell you where Tariq is. I can't tell you where Jalen Waddle is. I can't tell you where Jonnu Smith is. And those are the guys who I can't tell you where Tua is. Those are the guys who set the tone and set the pulse.
Mm-hmm.
And set the agenda. And I'm not sure I know where Javon Holland is. But you have to have everybody going in the same direction. And unfortunately, I don't think they do that. They have that right now. And it's going to get worse because they're going to have to shake down other players.
Yeah.
They're going to have
cap space.
Yeah. They're going to have to do some ruthless things. And then when you don't have a great into the season and momentum and this guy's gonna make us so much better, it's really hard to sell that stuff.
Now, you said a few things in the past couple of weeks that really rang with me, and I gotta give you flowers. So first off, if you didn't watch the show that we did the other day, Omar Kelly was the only one who picked the Rams to beat the Vikings. So we all got to, in the comic section, you got to give him his flowers for that one. He was the only one who saw exactly what was going to happen.
That was so clear to me.
My God.
you know what's the difference when I see a team I always have to see a team in person.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't really get a full gauge of who they are and how they play until you see them in person. And I saw that Rams defense in person. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
They're so young. They don't know any better. They don't know they don't know they're not supposed to be there. And then you got Stafford there, who's going to be a steadying presence. And then you got McVay, who's going to create a great game plan. I was like, yeah, they're about to beat the snot out of Minnesota.
Called it,
man. And I have those rare moments where, you won't see me sitting here telling you, every week, this team's gonna pick this team. Gonna pick this. But when I do tell you that, I'm pretty damn convinced. So yeah, I just yeah.
A lot of people want to downplay what Miami did against the Rams on Monday night because they weren't good at that time and this and that. And you brought it up on
good. They had won.
You brought it up on Twitter. Were they on a 3-game winning streak up at the point that the Dolphins were playing them?
Absolutely. They were a 3-game winning streak. They had just beaten Seattle in overtime. They had one less day to prepare, but they were literally at home.
Mm-hmm.
They had all the momentum in the world. And Miami went out there and they got that win. They got it. They earned it. Everybody from defense, they played a collective game. And that was really the turning point in the season. And then, I hate the whole can't beat a good team narrative.
Yeah.
I hate this is a perfect example of it because you want to give them credit or you don't want to give them credit, or were they a good team then and were they a good team now? Mm-hmm. Like when you beat the Chargers, were the Chargers a good team last year or did they end up being a bad team? But like, I hate that whole, they can't beat a good team. When Jacksonville was coming off a playoff win and you beat them in the season opener, were they a good team then or were they a bad team? Mm-hmm. Like it's hard for me to sit there and like rationalize with people. I know what his record is. I know what the team's record is. I get it. Or it changes, it moves.
Yeah.
So it's I get it. The narrative is they can't beat a playoff caliber team. Mm-hmm. They can't beat a team in the cold.
Mm-hmm. Prime time, I think, was the other one, something like that.
No, I think they're pretty decent in prime time. I'm not sure. But it's really, if you really hammer down to it, it's the caliber of the opponent. Yeah. And if you're good in the trenches, if you're strong, if you own the line of scrimmage, if you can run the ball effectively, if you could stop the run, if you can protect your quarterback and keep him clean, and if you could get after the quarterback and harass the quarterback, if you win the line of scrimmage, you're going to beat them. Mm-hmm. Baltimore, Tennessee, Green Bay. Who else is physical team?
Buffalo.
I mean, yeah, and you got to have it helps to have a quarterback who can rise to the occasion. Yeah, and but everybody doesn't have a quarterback who can rise to the occasion. Unfortunately,
like 3 or 4 in the NFL. It's like
maybe 5.
It's rare.
It's not rare, but
they think they could just pluck one off the tree. And I saw you were talking about this on Twitter. I'll give you more flowers throughout the episode, but I saw you were talking about this on Twitter. People want to just move on from Tua. I've seen people say, move on from Tua. And then I've even said to them, okay, who you were, I don't care. I'll lose for 2 years. I just don't want him on the team anymore. And I'm frustrated that he can't stay healthy. I'm pretty sure you're frustrated. We're all frustrated that he can't stay healthy. But to sit back and look at how he plays and think he sucks, it's just not true. And I don't understand why people are like that.
I think people have the narrative that they have, and they don't want to acknowledge that they're wrong. And I know one person in particular who does this. And the minute he can sit there and say, see, he does. But the rest of the time he's quiet. But see, look, mm-hmm. The hip injury. Tua goes and has 4 straight games, 120 rated quarterback, and completing on pace for a record-setting completion percentage is this season, and it's like silence. But you and this is one of my friends who's a gambling guy. He told me this from the very beginning. Look at Tua's record. Look mm-hmm. at Tua's efficiency rate. Mm-hmm. He plays winning football. Mm-hmm. Now, are you going to beat the big opponents? No, but if you're gambling on him, he's a pretty damn good safe bet. Mm-hmm. And that's a starting point for a team. And I'm writing something now. I'm like, worst case scenario, where he is right now after 5 years in the league, he's Chad Pennington.
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Mid-rate. He's Ryan. He's Matt Ryan.
Okay. Top
shelf. He's Drew Brees.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, who's throwing any of those quarterbacks out? Mm-hmm. Who's saying, it ain't good enough. I gotta go get Justin Fields. This ain't gonna do it. Like who? Oh yeah, Russell Wilson. He's the answer. Oh no. We got to go pay Sam Darnold. Absolutely, no. That's the answer. Oh no. Wait a minute. Let's go trade for Dak Prescott. Let's get that. No, let's give up 3 first-round picks and go get Cam Ward. Oh no. Let's go. What? Derek Carr. Let's go figure out how we can go get Derek Carr. Like, what are you doing?
There's a lot of people who say those exact things, and it's
Let's. I mean, okay. Let's spitball it here. Like, are any of those solutions going to get you in the next 3 years further than Tua will take you in the next 3 years? And I'm just asking.
the only thing that I could see being a positive with adding those players, not the Justin Fields, because Justin Fields, to me, I don't think he's as good as Tua, is the health. If these guys could stay healthy and be available, to me, that is where I'm the most frustrated with Tua, and that's what happened to me week 2. Once he got that concussion, I was like, and we just paid him. Like, you got to play smarter than that. Outside of that, though, like, you're going to have games that are bad. Like, I'm not going to sit here and expect Tua to have 17 straight 100% completion percentage and passer rate. Like, that Texans game blew, right? Like, the defense had his number. They had the safeties in the right position.
There are a
threw
lot of
3
variables
interceptions.
to that game. If you really, and I don't want to make excuses because people sit there and they say, "Oh, it's a laundry list of excuses." But I'm sorry. I went into that game and I remember doing QAM radio, and then I knew both tackles were out, and I was like, "Oh yeah,
I called that too. Yeah,
this is gonna be it. This is
Look
gonna
at
be
this feast on them. Yeah,
this is gonna be a poop show."
we had Cameron out on right tackle. Yeah,
this is just gonna be like for them to even be, and then they lose Jalen Waddle.
mm-hmm.
And then they have a guy like nearly die on the field.
Yeah, and Tua got blamed for that. Just so you know, in my live stream, they called it a dead ball or something.
Tua blamed himself for that. Tua
Yeah.
blamed himself for that.
Yeah,
he absolutely did blame himself for that. For them to actually be in a position to tie the game at the end of the game, and I credit the defense for that.
Oh,
that was a miraculous. That should have been a blowout game.
Yeah,
but then Tyreek gets a ball wrestled from him because clearly he's got no strength in his wrist, and this is just reality. You don't know this, but now you know it. Like he's got no strength in his wrist, so he's got to sit there and So if you want to go snatch the ball from him, as Stingley showed you, you can go snatch the ball from him. For them to be in that position was like, wow, okay, but it's more evidence that you can't rise to the occasion when you need to rise to the occasion. You threw 3 interceptions, and it just, we're just going to stack up the Tua can't beat a good team. Tua can't, Tua can't play in the cold. Tua can't stay healthy. And these are all narratives that are absolutely not going anywhere.
Nope.
He could have 3 straight seasons of playing 17 straight games, and those narratives are still going to be there, unfortunately, just because the minute it doesn't happen favorably for them, it's like we're right back at square one. Like, does anybody look at the Buffalo Bills and think that this team can go up to Buffalo and beat them? Like, if you're going to be honest with yourself,
no,
like,
not at all.
No, like not as they're presently constructed.
Yeah,
like you came close, but you didn't. You didn't.
61-yard field goal.
I think it was like a 63-yard field goal. But
like the man missed like a 34-yarder and he hits a 60+ yard field. It's such a Dolphin thing to happen to us. Like, you got to be kidding me.
I mean, that wasn't even the worst loss. The worst loss to me was Tennessee.
Oh my God.
Then you get to Arizona. Then you get to Tennessee, Arizona.
Indy. I think Indy was bad.
Indy was bad too.
Yeah.
Indy was bad. Indy was preventable. But some of those games you had no offense. They're like, what were you gonna do? Indy, you had no offense. What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
The guys out there like freestyling. The quarterback, like, he's just figuring it out. Like, it was a tough season, but I do agree that a lot of the things that they were plagued with were preventable.
Yeah.
Like, I watched OTAs. I even wrote, this quarterback play is garbage during OTAs. Like, how are you not addressing this? And they didn't address it at all. They just were like, what? Nah. Like, it was so bad. The quarterback play was so bad They stopped doing 11 on 11s and would only do 7 on 7s because Tua worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was that bad. People were like, yeah, we're not practicing with this. Like, I'm sitting here wasting my time. Like, if you saw that and Chris Greer saw it, the coaches saw it, and you chose not to address it, that's on you.
Yeah.
And it really was on them. And the excuse that they have is, what I love about these end of the year press conferences is they get up there and they tell you their versions of the truth, which is cute and nice and great. And the one thing I really appreciate is that Steve Ross knows the real truth.
Mm.
And so if they weren't out there aggressively going to try to get quarterbacks, and here's my thing, Andy Dalton, what was Andy Dalton going to do? What? Tell me what Andy Dalton was going to do.
Not behind that offensive line. He ain't doing nothing.
Like, Andy Dalton wasn't about to do nothing.
No.
Joe Flacco. What was Joe Flacco going to do?
Get sacked?
Yeah. Oh God. Yes. Sacked. And I said to you yesterday when you guys did my show, I was like, and these are things that, like, you saw me. I hammered it all off season.
Yeah, 100%.
Jack Driscoll. Like, that's what. You saw how this line finished the season. You said, let's run it back.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just add Jack Driscoll. I'm like, Jack Driscoll? Is that really your final answer?
And Greer comes out and blames injuries for what happened. Like,
in fairness to him, because see, people always say, oh, I could play. I'm always a devil advocate guy. And I don't think that's accurate. I'm just able to see you say something to me and I will thoroughly analyze it.
Yes.
In fairness to Chris Greer, it wasn't the first time you heard that teams were trying to get Keon Smith. You heard that from back. Teams were trying to trade for him. I'm not a huge fan, but could he have been a help, an assist at some point this season? Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Isaiah Wynn. Even though Isaiah says they knew I wasn't about to be ready anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Greer says that he was. And then Austin Jackson. From the point when they stopped running, I remember it was a certain game. I'm gonna tell you exactly the game. It was the Buffalo game, maybe going into the Rams week, where I was gonna write a column apologizing to Chris Greer for mocking him about his offensive line. And then they lost Austin Jackson. I said, let me put this on ice. Let me just, and Barry knows. We talked about it on the podcast, and Barry knows that I was going to write it. And then I learned, like, the Wednesday that Austin Jackson is done.
Yeah. And
I was like, you know what? Let me put this on ice. Because they had had 3 games where they had rushed for like 150 yards. Yeah. They finally got the ground game going. It was clicking. Raheem Mostert was back. And then I was like, okay, maybe he is right.
Mm-hmm.
Then they lost Austin Jackson. And I don't think there's ever been a moment in a season where I realized that a player that I thought was a guy, not a guy, but like, I thought he was like the Channing Crowder-esque of the offensive line.
Not great, not bust. Yeah, it was like
he was solid. He was a solid starter.
Mm-hmm.
Where I realized, holy crap, this guy's got some significant value, because you go from averaging 150 a game rushing to struggling to average 3.0 yards per carry for a 6-game stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And the run game just absolutely vanished. There was nothing they could do about it. Then they finally put in Win, and it resurged for like 1 game. And then in the end of the season, HM bust a couple of big runs. But to me, and I said this to you, the run game is at the genesis of why you didn't have the success that you had offensively and as a team, because the run game feeds everything.
Yeah.
It benefits everything, which is why good teams. I was listening to Mike Grable's introductory press conference, or some of his interviews with New England, and he was basically like, yeah, You want to you go ahead and have a quarterback throw the ball 40 times, and
Mhm.
the percentage of their winning is 22%.
Mhm.
How about you run the ball 40 times? The percentage of you winning is like nearly 70%.
Mhm.
It, football is a physical game,
Yeah.
and
$100.
the more you understand it and understand it's won and lost in the trenches, the more you can like you could see. Like I remember when I first started, I recommended this book, Take Your Eyes Off the Ball,
Mhm.
by Pat Kerwin, for years at the beginning of my career, because it really changed the way I looked at football.
Mhm.
And if you watch the trenches, uh, never follow the ball, watch the trenches, you'll know whether a play is going to happen or not. And like, because you could see the block, you could see the hole, or you could see that the quarterback has time, or you can
Mhm.
see the quarterback is rushed.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and that's why, when I was watching the Rams, man, that Rams team, they
Versus
are
good.
so good at drafting. They are so good at drafting. And I would be attacked. There's certain teams where I know I want to pick apart their staff, because
Mhm.
I know they know how to identify football. And the Rams, they don't need a high draft picks. They don't. That's the team I want to be. I want to be
Mhm.
the team that doesn't need a first round pick. They don't need high draft picks, because they know how to go out there and find Cam Kitchens.
Mhm.
I mean, and I was begging the Dolphins to draft Cam Kitchens. And if you had drafted Cam Kitchens, you wouldn't be in this situation that you're in now,
Mhm.
where you're going to have to restart your whole safety unit, because everything is poop. You didn't get a whole season. I got to wonder if there's a whole season where you got absolutely no interception for an entire safety unit. None, zero.
Your leading interception
Is a
player
line.
was
It's a line.
Dodson.
Who barely played. Yes,
He
for
needs to
you.
come back. Like, he better be a priority to bring back, because I
I
loved
don't even
him and
know if
Brooks together.
he wasn't a great every down player, but opportunist.
Oh,
Like, I
yeah.
remember watching him the first game he started. I can honestly tell you, Anthony Walker's better in my opinion, but Anthony Walker is never going to hold up for a full NFL season. I
No.
mean, you know that, but what do you do about it?
And it's funny too, is with Austin Jackson, when he got his contract extension, I was like one of the first guys to come out and been like, I was wrong, because at first I was like, oh my God, because he was struggling his first few years. But once he got because he was young. When we drafted him, he was young. He had
Mhm,
the bone marrow transplant. He was raw. And
mhm.
now that he's starting to really get
He
into it,
bounced like 3 different spots. Yeah.
he's like a legit starting right tackle, and he's really good for us. It's just, my biggest thing I was afraid of was not having Hunt to his left. Would that affect him? And it didn't really, it actually.
I didn't think he had that great of a season early in the year. I think he was
Mm,
struggling a little bit, but
mm,
maybe, you know, uh, but I think the whole line was struggling.
yeah.
But at that time, and people won't say it or acknowledge it, but Eichenberg was one of the best players on the line
How
early in the
dare
year.
you? How dare you?
Yeah, I mean, they won't, because it's
I
pile
won't.
on Liam, and like for the first like four games, I said to myself the whole year, I always hate this. I always hate when fans find their punching bag.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
guilty of that. Yeah,
it was Liam and it was Julian Hill,
yeah.
and it don't
Poyer.
matter what they
Mm,
do. It don't matter what they do. They just want to punch these guys.
mhm,
Um, and I think that I contributed to that last year with the Eichenberg Express, and just my obsession with line makes people obsessed with Eichenberg, and I'm like, that was unhealthy.
mm,
And so I went the entire year. I never talked to Eichenberg one time, never interviewed him, never really talked about him, never wrote about him. I'm just like, let this guy have peace.
mhm, mhm.
Even when he was playing with his shoulder harness, like, I didn't want to, because people don't realize this. He finished the season like hurt,
Yeah.
and you weren't getting his best because he's out there playing with a bum shoulder.
Mhm.
Offensive line, that's not gonna
No,
help you. And
overcompensate.
I was just like, you know what? Let it be. Let it do what it do. And like, I have been so harsh on him throughout his entire career. Let him just have his final season here in peace.
Mhm.
And that's a mature thing for me to do. And everybody else can write about it, and they can take their shots or whatever, whatnot. Like, That guy, he works so hard to be so mediocre, and I so average. Let me correct myself. He works so hard to be so average, and you know what? We could look up 3 years from now, just like we did at Michael Dieter, who's a
Mhm,
starter for the Washington Commanders,
mhm,
and be like, "Damn, we had that guy.
mhm.
He was on our roster. Wow, how did we
It's
miss
happened a
that?"
few times, yeah, it's happened.
And Michael Dieter was a bust here.
Mhm.
And look at him. Look at him now. Look at him now. He's a starter for the Washington Commanders, a team in the second round of the playoffs.
I think that's the thing that us as fans need to take some perspective in because, when I look at the draft, we traded up for Liam Eichenberg. There was Creed Humphreys that went afterwards. Like there was better players that are now better
No
that went
way Creed Humphrey
afterwards.
went after Eichenberg.
Yeah, I think Creed Humphreys, didn't he? I think he went to Kansas City that draft in
No
the end
way.
of the second round.
No way
I'm
did
gonna
Creed
look it up.
Humphreys.
I'm
I'm,
gonna
I'm
look
gonna
it up.
look it up. No way did Creed Humphrey go after Eichenberg. Because Creed Humphreys was that dude
Let me
in
see. Yeah,
uh
Creed Humphreys, 63. In the second round. He went the second to last pick in the second round. We traded up for Liam Eichenberg.
God damn it. God damn it.
Like the amount of players that I will tell you went after Liam Eichenberg, like Aziz Ojolari and Osa Komara, and like there was some really nice Nick Bolton, the linebacker. Like there was some good guys that went after Eichenberg, and I think that's also why a lot of us fans are looking at Eichenberg like
42. Oh my God.
we were like, you son
Hey,
of a
but
gun.
Jackson Carman went after Eichenberg. Think about it.
That's,
Think about it.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, there's always a bright side to these
Yeah, there's
things.
also the bright side.
But I think the thing that we need to realize
Wayne
as
Estridge
fans,
went after Eichenberg.
yeah, is that you don't know if they will do as good here. A lot of people want to look at the
God
Tua
damn.
versus
I cannot
Justin
believe Creed
Herbert
Humphreys went
situation.
after
I just broke your heart.
Eichenberg. I remember that draft, and I could have sworn that guy was like a first rounder, or he
No,
was rated as a first rounder.
there was a few, and like there's a few drafts where we took guys and that some really good players went afterwards, and we really missed on some, like the whole Noah Benogany pick, and then you have like Jonathan Taylor and all these guys going after Noah Benogany.
Noah Igbenogany was on my man crush list, so I cannot take any kind of.
Yeah, but did you have him as a first round talent?
No, I had him as a second round pick.
Exactly.
But he was. I mean, he's a starter for the Washington
I was
Commanders.
about to say his stats in Washington, he's like a really good corner for Washington. Well, stat wise, I keep seeing this tweet where they're showing him like holding it down for whatever, that one Steelers game with us where he got that game-winning interception. We all forgave him for a little bit there, but the biggest thing is
A lot of those guys, it's confidence, and when his
Mhm.
confidence got rocked,
Mm,
it never returned. And this is not a game where you could be mentally soft
no,
or
we've seen that. We've
yeah.
seen that. We're not going to name names, but we've seen that. But yeah, one other flowers I want to give you, because you were banging the table for this one, is Calais Campbell. I remember you were like, we got to bring Calais in. Did they do it because of you? Be honest.
I don't think so. I think they did it because of Anthony Weaver. I
Okay.
think it was always part of the conversation, and I knew it was part of the conversation. It was just a matter of like,
Pulling the trigger.
will they improve their offer? Calais wanted to do it, but the offer was whack. He did it anyway.
That's just who he is, man. That's just
And I would love for him to come back, but I want him to go find himself a contender
win a ring. Yeah.
and put that little bow on a Hall of Fame. Go be a chief rotational player.
Exactly.
Like,
Go get a ring.
if you think you're the missing, Baltimore really felt like he was a missing piece for them, and he probably could have helped them a lot.
Mhm.
Like they will probably lose this game to Buffalo because they can't get
Don't
get after Josh Allen, and Calais probably could have helped them because they knew it's going to come down to this.
Mhm.
You're going to have that game where the quarterbacks are going to neutralize themselves, and you're going to have to either have a dominant game from your running back, which they've got a good chance.
Mm-hmm.
If it snows in Buffalo, and I don't know what the weather's going
Suppose
to
it's
be.
going to be freezing. I'll look it up, but I
Yeah.
suppose it's going to be absolutely freezing in Buffalo.
Yeah, Derrick Henry can just batter them to death.
Just stiff arm the crap out of people.
Yeah. I mean, if it were up to me, Derrick Henry would be on his team, and he wanted to be here, which makes it even worse. But
they're playing Sunday. Oh my god. Yeah, it's going to be 21 during the day, 21 and cloudy, and then
and they're at night. Is it a night game?
It's like 6:30, and it's going to be 10 degrees.
Man,
you want to go to Buffalo, Omar?
No, I don't want to go to Buffalo. That's
that used to be my favorite thing. Is when you used to go on the trips to Buffalo, and you would tweet out how much you just hate Buffalo.
and
for years, no one wants to go to Buffalo.
Yeah, for years, Bills Mafia used to come after me, and we have made peace. I have waved the white flag. You've got a great team. You've got a great city. Like, your wings are phenomenal. Like, I quit. Like,
leave me alone.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. Like, I have Buffalo fans that follow me on Twitter, and I'm like, why? And they're like, well, you're very unbiased. And I'm like, well, thank you, I appreciate that. And they're like, and we also like to watch you be miserable. And I'm like, I feel like it's more you like to watch me be miserable than the unbiased stuff. But
yeah, they got like Buffalo. I like I joke all the time. Like, when I go to Buffalo, and I seriously mean this. I generally stay at the same hotel. It's a Buffalo Niagara Marriott Airport, and I don't leave the hotel. And the reason I stay at that hotel is because the restaurant in the hotel is very good. So I never have to leave my room other than to go to the game. And then I eat at the restaurant the night before, and then eat there coming back. And I'm like, I never have to leave the hotel. Like, it's one of those cities where I just have no desire to leave the hotel. I've had a good time in Buffalo one time.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Campbell, a Channel 7 reporter, went on the trip. I think it was like week 2 of the season. Colleges were just checking in,
Mm-hmm.
and clubs were throwing parties for the college kids, and we went partying, and I was like, yeah, Buffalo's great. I was like, yeah, that's literally the only time I've been. And generally, when I go to Buffalo, I always get a manicure. That's like the highlight of my Buffalo trip. I just get a manicure. I'm sorry, a pedicure. I don't get manicures. I get a pedicure because as a male, I want to do this endorsement. Get 3 pedicures a year. You don't want to be scratching up sandpaper feet to your wife. Okay, your wife is going to appreciate it. Okay.
I gotta try it. I'm ticklish though. I might kick someone in the head. But I'll try it. I'll take your endorsement.
Yeah, I'm telling you, go get yourself, sit in a little massage chair. Go get you a nice pedicure. Have them shave your feet down so it doesn't feel like sandpaper. And then your wife, when you touch your wife with your feet, she's gonna be like, "Oh, okay."
And then I'll have my second child.
Now you know the magic. Yeah,
there you go. It's the feet. It's all in the feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last thing I want to ask you, kind of the future of this team. We're in a cap space hell, right? And
we're always in cap space
always.
hell. They're so financially irresponsible, and they just think it's like, oh, okay, whatever, we'll figure it out.
Pieces and
we'll just get another credit card and swipe another credit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Negative 16.9 million as of right now.
Is it the number keeps moving, and I'm
right? It was 11 million over last I checked, and now it's negative 16 million. I know the cap's going to go up. It went up 30 million last year. They expect it to go up by at least 40 or so with the Christmas Netflix games that happen.
I don't know. When they had the final numbers, you're going to have to chop off 30 just to make moves.
Yes.
Based on what you had. Like, I think they were at 7. They were like 17. I can't even remember. It's always so irresponsible. They were at 17 million last year, and then they got under the 30, and then they restructured some people and created some money, and it's you rob Peter to pay Paul, and then you're going to end up like, and this is what I wrote a column in the Miami Herald.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wrote it. There's a price that you're going to pay for keeping things status quo.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to have to pay handsomely for it, and that means, hey, whatever you've been doing in the past, you got to let these guys continue to do it. Trade draft picks for age star veterans. You did it before. Why stop now?
Mm-hmm.
Be financially irresponsible on the books. You did it before. Why stop now? Be the highest bidder for a number of players. You did it before. Why stop now? You can't just reel it back because everybody knows they're in their final season.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's even going to be harder for you to sell it to free agents because they're going to be looking at the situation. Their agent's going to be looking at the situation like, these guys don't win. They're whacked.
Uh-huh.
You're going to be starting over. We got to make sure the guaranteed money is right. So we're good.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to be paying high levels of guaranteed money. It's just not a good situation to be in, but I think they can fix it and they can save it. When you can rally back from 2-6 to 6-2,
yeah,
you got to put some respect on that.
Yeah.
And I know not having your quarterback was a contributing factor, but you even won a game against Cleveland without your quarterback, and Snoop Huntley you've seen him. I'm not even like super. Yeah, if he's here as a number 3 quarterback, cool. But
they need to get a legit backup. Yeah, 100%. Because looking at this team, looking at the future of this team, trying to how am I gonna, because like if they don't, they got to win a playoff game. We talked about this on the video we did together where they have to win a playoff game or they're done. They're all done. How do you go forward with this? Like, are you going to because then how are you going to bring in a new GM and new head coach if they don't have the draft picks, if they don't have the capital? How are you going? Like, how is the future of the Dolphins going to look if it falls apart?
I mean, it's a scorched earth reset, and at that point, you're just trading players for picks and beginning the purge and doing what the Patriots are doing. And I don't know how they got 120 or 100 and whatever. That like
$125.8 million.
And the funny thing is, I know they're executives, and I'm like, man, they've got some good executives. They got some good people running their team. I wish the Dolphins had those people running this team. We'll see if it works though, because it would have been great if the Patriots had lost their final game and then they had the number 1 pick, and then they could have traded that number 1 pick for 3 first-round picks. Yeah, and just keep building a solid foundation. I think they like Drake May. I think they've got a big physical running back, which is going to definitely help with the way Vrabel wants to play. I think they got to build their trenches. But they have the resources to do it. And this team, they don't have the resources to do it right now. And the only way to fix what's going on is a scorched earth reset. And
now, are you talking 2019 scorched earth reset, or are you talking like get rid of Tua, get rid of Ramsey, start all over? So this is all or nothing. This is legit all or nothing this year.
Absolutely. No question, no doubt about it. And you either did that or you did a reset early. And I don't blame Steve Ross for what he chose and the route he went, because this is a lot easier than the scorched earth reset.
Is he here next year if they scorch earth reset?
Who, Ross? Oh, Ross ain't selling the team.
No time soon? You don't think so?
I don't think so. No, Ross is going to hand his team over to his 2 daughters, and they have equal power. And I got.
And when do you think that might happen?
When he dies. Like, you think that this man enjoys building buildings and
so this is his love. The Dolphins are his love.
Yeah, this is his passion. This is it. This is what wakes him up in the morning. Like, people don't I don't understand how fans you think this guy is doing this for money? Like, are you crazy? Like,
so many fans are just hoping and praying that he sells the team sooner rather than later.
That ain't never happening. That ain't never happening.
Did you hear all those hearts breaking?
that ain't never happening. Like, this man is He's there.
He needs to bring in a Bill Bill Parcells czar.
Name him.
I don't know. He needs to.
And that's the problem. You can't name him. So I would say people always say that, and I say, okay, who is it? And they're like, I don't know. Like, okay, I could give you Bill Belichick. Now we know that's not going to happen. We're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick was probably the worst GM in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
during his tenure. So I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But that's like the only name you could really come up with that can say, okay, that guy knows how to build a franchise. But I really don't even believe he knows how to build a franchise. I know he just knows how to coach a quarterback and and coach defense, or find a quarterback who is the greatest of all time and build a system around him. I would love to I got to look at what his staff at North Carolina looks like.
That's gonna be interesting. Yeah.
I wonder if Josh Boyer finally got a job.
I feel bad for Josh Boyer.
You shouldn't. Josh Boyer shanked so many people in the side, including Brian Flores.
To keep his job in Miami? Ooh, that might be for another episode.
Josh Boyer and special teams coach. Oh yeah, they were Judas. They were Judas the betrayers. Yeah.
I have to have you back. We got to do, maybe it'll be a Patreon exclusive, like behind the scenes type of video.
I always tell the juicy stuff, and it's like I don't hold on to it intentionally, because I believe at the time I wrote about it, like yeah, but nobody remembers the history. Like nobody really pays attention. Like my job is to chronicle the history, and I lived through all of that. Like with Steve Ross and all his hires. Like people are like, oh yeah, Steve Ross, he needs to hire some people. Do you realize how traumatic all of his hires have been?
They need to read that.
They have been like, they have been trauma to this guy. It's like,
I'm gonna link that article in the description. You guys got to go read that article Omar wrote about how like dramatic it is for Stephen Ross to go through another hiring process.
Like this man hates hiring people because it's always been traumatic and embarrassing and painful. A lot of people don't realize this.
He puts requests out and people say no to him. They're like, nah, I don't want to go to Miami. And then he's like,
it's like,
I'm Stephen Ross though.
I can make it rain. I can pay you whatever you want.
No, I'm good. I'm gonna go to Pittsburgh.
Brian Flores was like the first coach to get a fully guaranteed contract, and that was because they wanted finally to get their first choice, and they got their first choice, and then he's an insubordinate, you know what, and just a poor. I can't say that. He was just a real difficult person to get along with, to the point where his best friend left him as defensive coordinator after 1 year. Think about that. Think about how bad of a boss you got to be, where your best friend in the world was like, yo, I can't work with you. Like, to save our friendship, I got to go. And left for the Giants. Like,
hey, man. And it's funny, too, because I depended on my picks. I depended on Justin Herbert and Brian Flores to get me those wins this weekend, and they both let me down. So
Justin Herbert. Oh God, you bet on Justin Herbert?
Yeah, I thought the Chargers were going to beat the Texans.
I couldn't tell you that.
Again, but it's only two who can't rise to the occasion. Apparently, Justin Herbert is the next best thing.
I don't even say anything anymore. Like,
oh, they'll come after you, dude. Chargers fans are You thought Buffalo fans were bad back in the day? Now it's Chargers fans.
Chargers fans. I don't even think Chargers have fans.
Oh, you go on Twitter and you just say anything about Justin Herbert. My timeline just fills. Tua, you suck. What are you talking about? You wish you had Justin Herbert. Just blah, 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 blah. I'm like, he's got great numbers. And he hasn't won a playoff game yet. And those numbers will never be broken. Greatest rookie year. Cool. I'm pretty sure Dan Marino will give up all those records for a Super Bowl ring. Like, who cares about numbers, man?
How many coaches has he had fired? How many receivers?
See, they're going to come after me because this is my channel, but he said it. I didn't say it.
How many receivers have left him and said that guy's not a leader? He's got that Ryan Tannehill syndrome, which is fine.
You said that. I remember 2020 draft. You said Herbert has the talent, but there's something off about him. You said that.
I went to the Senior Bowl specifically to meet him
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't chance it. Like I could not chance it. And met him, talked to him, and I left that conversation. I'm like, Ryan Tannehill. And I was like, can't do it. Can't, there's just something off. And it's I don't think it's ever gonna get ignited. But it is what it is. I don't care. Tua's never gonna stay healthy. So
Exactly.
I'm not. Yeah.
There's two actually, to me, there was one. I think Jalen Hurts really is benefiting from him having a great team around him. I think you got Burrow and Jordan Love. I think those are the two best quarterbacks in this draft, and the ones that you can really
Jordan Love is putting up stinkers too.
Like last year, he did good, but you're not wrong. Like he had a bad game against Philly, but it's against Philly too.
Phil's a good team.
But Omar, it's always a pleasure talking to you. We have to do this again because you dropped some juicy nuggets at the end of this. So
always a pleasure.
Well, just go check out his article. I'm going to link it below. Great writer. I've been following Omar for it's probably a decade now. I've been following you for a hot minute. I've been doing this channel for 7 years now. I've been following you for way longer than that. So a lot of what I learned, trenches, he dropped the book, go read it. And also, Miami Held, you guys got a YouTube channel. We did a video together.
Yes, we did a video together, the round table, and it's a good conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to learn the pulse of what the fans are saying and thinking and how they feel, and you guys delivered. So, it'll sort of steer me moving forward. So we'll see how that plays out.
Go check him out. Go follow him on Twitter, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Appreciate you, Dougie.
All righty.